Growing up between cultures teaches you one thing very quickly. Belonging is complicated. In this episode, Urmi shares what it's like to be a Bangladeshi woman raised in Italy, constantly negotiating identity, home, and expectation placed on women. We talked about embracing discomfort, choosing solitude, setting boundaries, and why softness can be a form of strength. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Soft Power Project. I have the beautiful guest, Urmi Hossain, here with us today. And I'm so excited because she is the woman that wears many, many hats. And whenever I meet someone like that, she speaks multiple languages and she's still learning new languages. And she's doing all these different things and she has a full-time job. Whenever I meet someone like you, I just want to pick your brain and study your DNA and understand just how it's possible. And so I'm so excited to have you here today. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So as you know, again, every time I see you on social media, every time I follow you, I'm just like, wait, you have this YouTube channel, you have that YouTube channel, and you're co-chair of this organization, and you're doing all these different things. So if you had one word to describe you, what would it be?
One word to describe me, I would say probably multi-talented.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wanted to, kind of take it back to your childhood and your heritage because that's really where I find out there's a lot of similarities between us, even though we look very different. But you grew up in Italy, but you're from Bangladesh, right?
Mhm.
What is that like?
So yes, I was born and raised in Italy, and I do have South Asian heritage. Both of my parents are from Bangladesh. And for me, the struggle that I went through, it was really trying to fit in. Not because people did not make me feel like I was unfit. It was just that I felt like I was the one who was a bit misplaced. Like I remember going to school and having all of my Italian friends, especially because all of my friends were Italian and there was no one that looked like me. I always felt like I was not in the right place, but it's not that someone made me feel like I did not belong there.
Yeah.
And I was aware that, you know, my features are not Italian. You can see that I do have typical South Asian features. However, the problem was that even when I went back home, it was the same thing, like where I look like everyone else, but at the same time, I still did not feel like I fit in because I grew up with such a Western mentality and around Western people that I was different from the inside. So for me, that was the struggle. Like I always felt like I did not fit anywhere. I felt like I was not enough of either one of the cultures. So that was a struggle, like an internal struggle that I went through, something that I was never comfortable talking about. And at the same time, I thought maybe it was just, it was a temporary thing, it's something that went through. But then I realized that there were a lot more people, there are a lot more people that went through the same thing, especially when you have so many cultures, exposure to so many cultures when you're growing up and they have an impact in your upbringing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think because we're all kind of live in this world. I mean, a lot of us are from different cultures, but we grew up and then we moved to different countries. And I mean, from my experience, I grew up in Taiwan. I was in Canada when I was 14. So definitely a weird time for me to be in somewhere else. And again, like you said, exactly, I was trying to fit like a it's almost like performing. I feel like I'm fitting into like different roles and observing how they talk so I can dress like them, talk like them. Have you ever felt like you kind of had to be different person whenever you're with someone else. I feel like that's kind of the common theme with a lot of immigrant kids because we're often trying to simulate and try to be similar to everyone else around us.
My thing was mainly that I really wanted to look like everyone else around me.
Mhm. Mhm.
So all of my Italian friends, some of them have blonde hair, some of them have like brown hair, black hair, blue eyes, green eyes, and I felt like I looked like a boring person because I have black hair, black eyes, and I was like, what was so interesting about like someone who has like one color. And I remember like buying like color contact lenses. So I would put like blue contact lenses. I would put
Yes.
green contact lenses because I wanted to look like everyone else. I also remember like at some point I started to cut my hair in a certain way so I could have like side bangs because everyone around me had side bangs. And me coming from a South Asian heritage, I was always told like never cut your hair because it's not good. Long hair is part of like our, beauty. It's a symbol of beauty for
Yeah.
women. So I remember always growing up with those things. So I would like never cut my hair. Then one day I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna do my bangs on my own. So I always try to look like everyone else. And I don't think that I was trying to like be different or adapt myself. I think I can definitely say that with my Italian friends, I felt like I was at most comfortable with. Like I felt like I was my most self. Whereas with like Bengali people, I had to like I would say mold a little bit to be a bit more similar to them. But I felt like I was just not being honest to myself when I was doing that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's so interesting. So actually, you feel more similar to the Italian side of you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Because when I was doing a little research, and then I noticed that you talked quite a bit about this breaking the mold and really finding yourself and noticing that, having both culture, growing up with these culture background, such unique background, it's a strength, not a limitation. Could you just speak more about that?
Yeah, I think for the longest time, I thought that having multiple cultures within you, different cultural exposure within you was actually a weakness because I think people would ask me, a simple question about where are you from, and I always really struggle. Like I wish I had a simple answer, where I would just tell you, this is where I'm from. But the reality is, when people ask you where are you from, like I'm thinking about many things in my head. I'm thinking, is this where I was born? Is this where my parents are from? Is this about the passport that I hold? Is it about where I studied? Is it about where I worked? So I think about different things, and there's no one single answer. So I always struggle with that. And
Mhm.
I realized that no matter what answer I gave, people were always questioning my origins. If I said that I was Italian, they would question that because I don't look Italian. If I would
Mm.
say Bengali, they would question that. They would even question that because I have a strong Italian accent when I speak in English. And I started to see this more like, a weakness. Like I was not even convinced about my own identity. And the problem with me is also that I kept moving from one place to another. So I don't have a physical home that I can call home, like for me, home is a feeling. I just don't have the place. I don't have the house where I was born, for instance. I don't even know if it's still there. And we just kept moving so many times that I don't have a place that I can call home. So when people ask me, do you go back home? I'm thinking, do you know what's home for me right now? Like some people think home is where my parents are living, which is in UK, but home is for me, UK has no connection with me. Like when I think about home, I think about Italy because that's where I have spent most of my time in. So that's the thing, that this is why I saw this more like a weakness, and I had to have conversation with like people to unlearn that and try to see that it's actually a good thing that you have so many exposure to so many cultures, because it means that you are able to bring different perspective, you have different visions, it means you speak multiple languages, it means you had exposure to different cuisines, you just come with like multiple things. And so that's how I started to see this more like my strength, and I started to embrace that.
Absolutely. And I love how you mentioned about home, because that's definitely how I feel. It's so hard to say where I'm from because, again, like we moved so many different places. And currently you're in Quebec, in Canada. So I wanted to ask about that notion of home. And you mentioned that it's a feeling, right? What is the process like for you when you move somewhere new? And how do you make it become home?
So it's a good question. And here's the thing. I do live in Canada, but I don't know if it's my first home. It's probably
Mm,
my second home. And I think it's just something that I came to a realization when I started to like travel and I would go to other places and I had this feeling of like I would just be like, okay, I want to go back home. And I
yeah,
would think of Canada
yeah.
because this is like the place where I'm staying, where I'm living. Because for me, Italy, for instance, like it was easy for me to say it's my home because this is where I was born. This is where I have my most beautiful memory. This is where I feel I am my most self. Like
Mm,
when I go back to Italy and let's say I go and visit my friends, I know that I'm going back home. I know that, I have that excitement. Whereas when I'm traveling and I think about going back home, I think of Canada, but I think it's probably because I'm so used to it, living in Canada, and I think I feel quite comfortable here. I have my friends, I have my work, I have my social activity and stuff like that. Like I created, I think, a safe space where I'm able to excel. And but it's something that you really have to work on, I would say. Like if you move to a new place and like you're not doing anything, you're always at home, chances are you feel homesick, you feel like you're not growing in the new place. So you really have to be like open into making connections. Like when I moved here, I went to university and I made this many friends, and I'm still friends with a lot of them. Then I started to work, and I do a lot of social stuff, and that's how I'm able to make a connections and feel like, okay, this is how I want to bond and this is the connection I want to have with this country. So I think it's an effort that you have to make when you're moving.
ah, I love that. So it sounds to me that when you talk about creating a safe space, it also has to do with the connection that you're
Mm-hmm.
building around you. So it's not just the physical space itself, it's actually allowing yourself, in a way, you're allowing yourself to kind of push outside of your comfort zone, getting to know these different people and making that connection.
Yeah, and it's a trend that I do see in other people as well. Like, I mean, I've been living here for a while, so I'm quite comfortable with everything that is happening in this city. But let's say when I participate to some of the events and people have to present themselves, they often say, "Oh, I moved from, let's say, Australia. I moved from Vancouver. I moved from, I don't know, France. I moved here, and I'm here because I want to make new friends." And I can see that other people do the same thing too. Like they participate to these events because they want to get to know other people and they want to build that connections, not just with with the country, but also like with other people, just to feel like, okay, maybe there are people similar to me who also have moved and see if there are, shared interests. And that's how you start to, make friends and you start to do activities. And I can see that it's a recurring thing. Like a lot of people that I have met, they all have moved from somewhere and they participate to these things so that you know, they start to adjust themselves in the new place.
Right. I think that's a really beautiful and such an important thing because I think most of us, when we think of home, we think of this place that we lived in and we have to make it comfortable, buy the furniture, set everything up. That's home. But what you're saying is actually go outside, make friends, make connection, and that's creating you a safe space. And I think that's what makes you so different. It's because you're not afraid to push the boundaries and go beyond. And I mean, the fact that you mentioned to me, you actually got a job in Quebec specifically so that you can just speak French, right?
Yeah.
So force
Yeah.
yourself to speak French. And that to me is incredible because I'm like, you already know so many languages, but you still keep pushing yourself. Tell me about that because I think that's really what makes you so successful is that need and also being so comfortable to be uncomfortable.
Yes. Yeah. It's actually something that I do like to live by, like be comfortable with uncomfortable. And it's a mindset that I started to, adopt many years ago because I realized that if I stay in my, comfort zone, I'm not gonna grow. And I have to do the scariest thing and I have to do the most challenging thing for me to grow. And it's uncomfortable, of course, but you do see the progress and the work, like the results of the work, the moment you start to push a little bit on those boundaries. And it's always something that I've been doing. Like I'm not afraid of doing new things. I always say yes to many opportunities when they show up. I never like I don't hesitate. I just say yes right away. I really don't hesitate because I want to see what the outcome will be. But I can only see that if I'm doing that. Like if I'm hesitating, if I'm like second guessing, I'm like, that's not how it's gonna work. So I'm very open to that. For instance, a lot of the things that I do, like I participate to so many social events, and often I go on my own in these events. I don't know anyone, and I tell myself, it's okay if I'm just going alone. I will meet someone. I'm pretty sure there are other people too, and I'm not even afraid of that. I'm not like maybe a couple of years ago I was like, you know what, I want to go with like a friend or something like that to these things, but now I'm like. I can just go on my own, my company is enough. Because if I keep waiting on someone, I will never get to do it. I do embrace the fear. I do embrace the uncertainty. And it's something that I have read in a book where they talk about how you should see your fear as your friend. And you should see this as a light who's supposed to be guiding you, which is supposed to be guiding you. And that's how I see it when it comes to, trying new things and embracing my fear. And I can definitely say that so far fear has really helped me to really get far.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That sounds so exciting because I love how you talk about my company is enough
Hmm.
because that shows me just how incredibly comfortable that you're with yourself. And because I feel like that took me so many years to even get to that point is really just trying to understand my own insecurity and understand my trauma and heal from that. So, could you talk a little bit about that concept and just my company's is enough? Were there any tools that you used or anything that you used to help you to get to this place so that maybe some listeners can to learn and practice?
So here's the thing. I think my main tool was really probably like asking people to join me to some of the events and getting a no. And as
Ah.
soon as I think it was that. Like I would get a no and I was like, you know what? I should not stop myself from attending some of these events just because someone said no to me. And I think it was probably the rejection that just helped me to like go through that because many years ago, like I would say probably when I was like in my mid 20s, I remember thinking like even just simply going out for lunch, let's say during my lunch hour, like I always needed to go with some of my coworkers. Like I was never comfortable eating on my own. I never
Mm.
liked eating alone in the kitchen. Like I feel like I always needed someone. Always, always, always. And right after that, I think I started to realize that and then I had to like change company for different reasons. But then like I realized that I was also getting older, like I was maturing and everything. And I started to realize that I want to do so many things in life, but if I keep waiting on people, I don't know how far I'm gonna go. And what happened is, so here was, I think probably this is where the answer that you're looking for is coming. Basically what happened is I used to volunteer for this woman. So basically, it's an organization that where you are visiting elderly people or people with loss of mobility, and you're just giving them company. You're having like a coffee chat with them, and they just need like a friend to talk to. And there was this woman that I used to visit. She was in her 90s, And one of the things that she told me was that, if you ever want to do something, don't wait on anyone, just go for it and do it. And I think it was her wisdom that really gave me that power to just go and do things on my own. Because she was like, you know what, you can wait for someone, but at the end, you can keep waiting, 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 and probably they will never show up. So she made me realize that sometimes, my priorities might not be the same as other people's priorities. And as soon as I started to get note whenever I wanted to do something, I was like, you know what, I should not stop myself from, following my passions. And that's why I just do things on my own. I'm comfortable doing things on my own. If a friend wants to come with me, they're more than welcome. But just because they say no, it doesn't mean I'm not gonna show up. And it's happening even like nowadays. Some events I still organize them with some of my friends, and maybe at last minute they cannot make it, but I still go and have fun on my own. Yeah.
I think that's such a beautiful, beautiful concept. It just sometimes it takes people a very long time to realize that alone doesn't mean lonely, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes the society tells us that, oh, oh, poor you, you shouldn't be alone. You're eating by
Oh,
yourself. That
yeah.
it reminds me of those like high school movies, like eating alone. They must be bullied and not liked. And I think sometimes it takes us such a long time to get over that and see that differently. But I love it how you see fear, you see loneliness, you see rejection as
Mm-hmm.
such a positive thing that just like propels you forward. It's like it pushes you forward and instead of holding you back.
It's their me time, basically. That's how I see it. Like I don't see this as like a lonely time. It's your time with yourself, and you should see yourself as a friend too. So I honestly I just love my me time. Like I go on a solo coffee dates. There's so much that you can get done. Yeah, I mean, it's important also to have social connection and have friends and stuff like that. But it's also okay to take time on your own to recharge. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. Just to say that I love my me time
Yeah.
and just be so honest with that. And I'm just wondering, because you joined so many different organizations, you co-chaired, and I know there are multiple different organizations that you're involved with, and you meet a lot of women, and you meet a lot of women from different cultures as well and
Yeah.
from different ages. Do you see a theme that's going on in 2025?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, even yesterday, I went to a social event for women led by women, and it's
Mm,
about how to handle stress and burnout. And it was interesting because we were like 10 women in this small room, and they all shared the same comments, which is, I don't know if I like my job, but there are so many expectations from me. I feel like my job is not making me fulfilled. And then someone else was saying how there are so many obligations for her as a human being, as a wife, or maybe as a daughter. And I feel like everyone was complaining about this. Everyone was saying that there's so much pressure put on us as women in general. And they were like, sometimes we just reach a burnout, or we just feel anxious, we feel stressed about it because we just have to keep doing things to keep up. And the workshop itself was about, how you can control your emotions, how you can control the situation, what are some of the ways that you can, tackle these challenges. And they were often talking about like the exercise of breathing, because sometimes, we feel very anxious because of, external elements. And they were talking about like if you do some breathing exercises, some journaling, these are things that will like reconnect you to yourself. But it was beautiful at the same time to see that you're not alone in the journey, that maybe you feel it's a lonely journey because everyone has the same concern. And it happened also like 3 months ago. I attended a career networking event, and some of the women were like raising their hands and saying like, there were moments where I wanted to speak up in my workplace, but I didn't, because they were just so afraid of the negative comments and how they were probably going to be perceived. So it's always the same theme. Like we feel like there's so much put on us, or maybe we don't We don't believe in ourselves enough. We don't believe in our voice. And honestly, I do like the conversation. It's nice to see them. I feel they're very re-energizing when you get to go to some of the events, and some of them are really just for women, led by women.
Mhm.
So it's really nice to have this conversation and like get ideas from one and another on how we can tackle the challenges.
Right. Isn't that quite amazing how we spend our early days, our 20s, trying to be, to be different.
Mm-hmm.
And, but then when we enter like mid 30s, and I mean, I'm in my 40s, I feel like it's so interesting because everyone is just going through the human experience and the same struggle, the same transformation. A lot of women feel like they have too much pressure and responsibility placed on them. I feel like women universally were just conditioned to be people pleasers and,
Yep.
right? Just perform and be a good daughter, be a good everything. And because now we also have a career to worry about, so we are also we have to be so independent. We have to be this great boss, great this. So at home and at work, we have to be everything. And it's a lot.
It's a lot. And then when you take a moment for yourself, then you get like, even there, like you get judged.
Mm,
Even though you get judged, you're like, okay, you're never cooking, you're never like, doing things for us. Like, like no matter what you do, it's like never enough. And I can see how many of these women are so sick of it. It's like, what else can you do? And there's societal pressure, there is cultural expectations, like you said. I'm pretty sure it's the same thing for you as well. It's the same thing for, South Asian culture. Women are expected to behave a certain way, be obedient, just do whatever we tell you. You stay in the kitchen, your job is in the kitchen, and but then at the same time you have another job, which is, to go to work and make yourself a successful career woman. Like there's a lot to juggle around, and women really struggle to take time for themselves. And even when they do, that's an issue, like maybe taking a nice bubble bath, like it's a concern. Like it's like you're spending so much time in the washroom. It's like, how can you do this without feeling guilty about it? And it's hard. And I think what happens is that we still feel guilty no matter what we
hmm
do, because that's how we were conditioned to behave and think. So it's like there is a lot of unlearning process to do, I think.
hmm I think guilt is definitely it's something that just constantly there. It's like a cloud that never goes away. No matter what you do, like you do well, you feel guilt. If you don't do well, you feel guilt. So how do you navigate that? And especially when it comes to facing maybe your parents with older, more traditional idea of what women should be. How do you navigate that dynamic?
It's challenging, I have to say, because there is a generation gap. There is a completely different mindset and mentality. Like, you know, we're in 2025. I think a certain way. Older generations, especially if they come from like 1950s, 1940s, it's quite different. And I think I learned to accept that there's only so much that I can change, and that sometimes I also have to understand their point of view as well, because they only had one vision of things, and
Yes.
they only see that. You can't blame them for this because they have not seen anything else. It's a conversation that I had to have with one of my ex professors, where I spoke about this with her, because I was like, I don't know how I can change this, but she was like, you cannot, because it's just this is how they grew up. You know,
Yes.
I learned to accept that, and I learned to not let it control me, because I think at times I would feel like my emotions were taking over, but I learned to put like a mental boundary there, like a mental separation, and not let it affect me too much, because there's only so much that I can do about it. And
Uh,
so, like, there are things that I've done, such as, it's okay if I'm not able to fulfill an expectation, but I have to be okay with it. As long as
yeah.
I'm okay with it without feeling sad and feeling like, I'm letting someone down. And that's how I move on, pretty much. And I have like conversation open dialogues with other friends to validate some of my points.
Yeah.
And they feel the same way too. So, that you're not alone again in this journey. There are other people going through the same struggles, valid concerns that we have. But I think it's important to talk about them with other people as well to make sure that, you're not going off a tangent. So,
I think that's beautifully said because so many of us is navigating that. We're in that generation where there's the older generation, but there's also us trying to find our most authentic self. But then you're going to have to really understand how to juggle that dynamic. And it's
hmm
hard, it's a struggle. And maybe just see it as, yes, it's going to be hard, accept that it's hard because they're not going to change. And we definitely don't want to change, go back, right? We don't want to go back to that way anymore. So I love what you said, accept it, but there are things that you just completely out of your control, but still have a mental separation, right? I think that's so important because that the identities that they hold, that's not us. And
hmm
that's also just what they grew up with. And maybe that's not even them, but that's the condition they grew up with. So having that separation, I think definitely allowed us to have more of a room to breathe.
yeah, yes, exactly. And I mean, I don't know how it is for you, but like even putting healthy boundaries with family members are also okay. I know they never teach you about boundaries,
Yes.
and it's something that I really had to learn
Yeah.
through books and so forth. But I think it's okay to put those in place for your own mental sanity. Like those are pretty okay, and I think they should be taught more and more and more. It's like you don't want to have the two things. Like you don't want people to step in your space, in your boundary, in your time. There is you and there is other people, and it's okay to put healthy boundaries. This is what they're called, healthy boundaries, because it's not supposed to ruin
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I recently, well, this year, I really, really learned that boundary is not something that you tell other people to do, it's actually something that you hold. And they don't even have to do anything. So, but I think setting boundary, it's easier, but holding the boundary has been quite
Dif-
quite a journey.
Yeah. I always say that you can put some boundaries in place, but you always have to make sure they are like reinforced.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you let something like people come in, like you broke that boundary, like you broke that protection for yourself. So it's also about reinforcing them. You have to make sure that there are reinforcement measures right there to make sure that you protect your energy. And it's all about protecting your energy because it can be draining. I felt the same. Like I felt like it was really draining at some point, like mentally, then it shows physically and everything. As soon as you put a boundary, you're creating, a safe energy, a safe space, and you're creating a mental peace for yourself.
Yeah. No, I absolutely love that. And I think kind of going back to what you said earlier is that you really enjoy your me time. And I'm definitely seeing a theme because you're all about protecting your own energy. And the me time is for you to do that, is for you to recharge so that you can have a better boundary, a healthier boundary, a stronger boundary, right? In that kind of situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I do encourage it to other people as well to have like me time. And me time can be seen in many ways, honestly. Like could be just you, journaling. It could be you just going on a walk, being connected with the nature. It could be, having a solo coffee date, exploring your own neighborhood. Like, I think it's important to have that time for yourself because it helps you to reconnect with yourself. And I always say, like, you cannot pour from an empty cup, you know? So
Yeah.
if you are fully charged, then you can start serving other people. But if you have nothing left, you cannot serve other people. So you always have to put yourself on the top of the list before you start thinking about other people. And it's something that I really had to learn through time because I think I worked the other way around where I always wanted to make other people happy. But I saw how it came with a cost. Like, I feel like you try to make everyone happy, but then somehow no one is happy no matter what you do. And you're like, okay, like, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing, you know? And I think it came with time too, you know? Like, I think once you reach your 30, you live unapologetically and you care less about other people's opinions. But I think it comes with time too. I think probably when you're in your 20s, you're not comfortable as much. And I think you're also seen as like being too young,
Mm.
too immature, like not experienced enough. But when you reach your 30s, I think you enter your 30s with a different power, I would say. And that's how I feel about it. So I honestly I'm happy to be in my 30s. I think these are the best years yet. So yeah.
I mean, just wait you enter your 40s is going to be absolutely amazing. I mean, you're already so incredibly forward thinking in your 30s. And I love what you said about if you're pleasing everyone, no one is really happy. And that's how I feel. I feel like when I was a people pleaser, everyone resents everyone. Right? That's always the end result. I ended up resenting people and they ended up still resenting me because I'm still not doing enough. But it's still go
Yeah.
back to who you are and what do you want. And I think it's just, I love that about our conversation is that you gave me so much energy about just stay true to yourself and set that boundary. It's healthy. And I know we're recording this in the end of 2025 and we're gearing into 2026. And I remember you talked about how you often had this like practice to get you ready for the new year. Do you mind sharing about that?
Yeah, so usually, like in the month of December, I try to do like a reflect and reset type of activity. It's something that
Mm,
I have created my own, where basically I like to write down my lessons from like the year that have just concluded and think about, you know, what is it that I was able to accomplish in 2025, for instance. And then I do like a vision board type of activity where I'm writing down or putting down pictures of the things that I want to achieve in 2026. And I usually have a theme. So for instance, like in 2025, it was all about like living the experience and creating an experience. And for 2026, I'm thinking about how can I create more opportunities. So I always try to like live by theme. This is something that I try to do like in the recent years, have a theme for the year because I think it makes it more exciting and you're like romanticizing your life, which I think is fun.
mm-hmm.
And when I'm doing this, I also like to create a nice atmosphere with like candles, you know, the dim light. Like I actually just did it. I did it on Friday actually. So like I was like I did all of these things, and it's still not done because I also want to like reflect a little bit more about the things that I really want to eliminate from my life, like toxic traits. You know, maybe I'm spending too much time on social media, so I want to create one thing which is about in and ins and the outs. I don't know
Mm,
if you
yes.
saw this on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like when you start to reflect a little bit some of the things you want to change,
Yeah.
you intentionally like work towards them. And I like to like write them down and put them somewhere so that I use them as a reminder. And I
Mm,
know that when something is written down, I tend to do it. So I want to
mm,
be more intentional about it. So I always do like a reflect and reset type of activity. And I do it a month before the end of the year, so usually in the month of December and not in January, because I feel like it's a work that you have to do pre
mm-hmm.
beginning of the year. You don't want to do this in the first week of January. Like I think it always has to be like a year before, so
Mm-hmm.
that when you start the new year, you close the previous chapter. So that's how I like to do it. Yeah.
Mm. So do you mind sharing with us what's in and what's out?
So what's in? I would like to do more breathing exercises. It's a thing that I've been telling myself that I want to do this because I see how important it is, but I don't do enough of it. Actually, I don't do it at all. Only when I'm nervous, I'm like breathing. But I think if I did this every day, it would really help to calm my nerves. And my out is definitely like I want to spend less time on my phone, on social media. Unfortunately, it's addicting, and I want to like reduce it as much as possible to be more fully connected to myself. But I do think that from when we had COVID, like things just went down. Like, since COVID, like I feel like everyone is more like on social media. And I feel
Yeah.
like I was not able to, eliminate that. Whereas before pre-COVID, I feel like I was a bit more present when I was doing things. But now I feel like it's just becoming harder and harder. And I realize that I'm aware of this. I'm aware of this and I want to like eliminate that completely. But definitely, like the other thing I also want to do, like my in is also to be journaling a bit more regularly. I do it quite regularly, but I want to be a bit more consistent with it and, end the day with a positive note. I think it's important. And it's something that they also spoke about yesterday when they were talking about burnout and being stressed and so forth. And also the other thing, my other out is that I don't want to look at my phone when I wake up in the morning. I tend to do it. Unfortunately, I tend to do it. So yeah, I'm pretty aware that there are some of these things that I have to fix so that I can be a better person for the upcoming year.
Mm, absolutely. I think everything you said, I'm like, yep, yep. Definitely, I checked my phone right away and I'm like, oh, stop. I need to stop doing that.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just not
It's
good.
bad. It's just
It's
bad.
bad. It's
It's
bad.
bad. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Especially if you get a notification and it just like alarms you right away. And right in
exactly.
the morning. No, no, no. It's not good. It's really not good. And I think you're aware of it. I'm aware of it. It's just we have to make an effort about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that with us because I feel like that's great. I love how this is really becoming the trend is about it's not about just like gaining more or doing more. It's actually things that you wanted to leave behind.
Hmm.
And yeah, I think that's such a powerful thing, especially for 2025. It's a year of snake, a year we're all shedding, we're all deconditioning. I wanted to ask you this question, and I'm so curious about your answer, but I just through these conversations, I already feel like I know your soft power, but I would love to know what's your definition of soft power?
My definition of
Mm,
soft power,
yeah.
well, honestly, I only think about a word. Like if you ask me what is your soft power, and I think about the word determined,
Mm,
because I think it really represents me well as a person. I
mm-hmm,
think I'm a go-getter. I like to like go after my goals and my objectives,
mm-hmm.
and I'm quite determined to achieve them.
Yeah.
And when I start on something, I don't like to stop on that. Like I feel like
Mm,
if I'm letting go on a goal, I feel like I'm just betraying myself. That's one like I actually feel bad about it. Really
mm,
bad about it. Like and this is why I do that exercise where I have to write down like all of my goals or make a vision board because I know that if it's somewhere, I know I'm gonna go and achieve it. And I would say like the word determined, it's something that describes me. I would say it's my soft power.
mm-hmm.
And it's quite powerful. Yeah.
Right. I love that. And I'm really curious because usually the word determination, that sounds very hard, but you use that as your soft power. So in your way, like how do you connect the softness with the determination?
Okay, so there are a few like quotations where they talk about, a woman can be delicate and strong at the same time. And that's the connection or that's the analogy that I think of when I think about being soft and determined. Like I know soft is like
Uh-huh.
it
Uh-huh.
just really means being delicate and
Mm-hmm.
determined makes you think about something hard. But I think the two can complement each other and create
Right.
a nice cohesion. That's how I like to think of it. And there was this thing that I think of that I put an image. I don't know if you know who is this character, Ixina, the princess,
Yes,
the
yes.
warrior princess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, because someone made a comment that I'm like all princessy, and I said, no, I'm not. I'm a warrior princess.
Yeah,
That's
no,
what
I
I
can see
said.
that.
I'm a warrior princess, and that's how I see like soft
Mm,
power coming. So that like it's a combination of the two. And I think every woman has, a soft side, but also have a very strong side, and the two are
yeah,
just meant to be together. Yeah.
yeah. No,
Yeah. That's how I
absolutely.
see it.
Yeah, I love it because to me, I feel like the softness, it's beyond that, the delicates, right?
Hmm.
It's beyond that. It's because throughout our conversation, you talked about how having that me time and recharge and then setting boundaries, that is powerful. But that has to be done with such softness for yourself,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I feel like your life and everything about you, that is soft power. And you're a warrior princess for sure.
Yeah, I honestly, I feel like it really describes me, like being a warrior princess. I'm a bit of both, and it's delicate and strong at the same time. And honestly, I also think about this thing because I usually like to make a comparison between genders. Like I know that men are physically stronger, but mentally we're much stronger. Like I actually do think that we're much stronger mentally. And that's where our strength come from. Like we can sustain much more than men can do, honestly. Like I do firmly believe in that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Me too. 100%. Absolutely. Oh, I love this conversation. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. And I feel so blessed because I get to have this conversation with you at the end of the year. And I just feel so recharged and like I'm ready to do my practice and embark into 2026 because I know it's going to be an amazing year. And yeah, I cannot wait to see what's happening with you because I know you have so many things. You also have YouTube channels, by the way. For the listeners, I will link everything in the show
I
notes.
I have many things. You're right.
So yeah, I cannot wait to see what's going on. I mean, is there anything that you would like the listeners to kind of check it out? Any of your channels?
And definitely my podcast.
Mm,
It's called Stories Beyond Borders, and it's basically a podcast about migration stories. It's a storytelling podcast where each of my guests shares their culture story. They moved around from one place to another. What were some of the challenges that they went through? It's about language learning. It's about, travel. So it's very much surrounded about that theme. And if people want to read about my story as a third culture kid and my bringing in Italy, my book is available on Amazon, and it's called Discovering Your Identity: A Rebirth from Integration Struggle.
mm, beautiful. And yeah, I'm really excited to be on your podcast. I think that'll be
Yes.
incredibly interesting. I'll leave everything in the show notes. I'm sure it's going to be like 10 links for you to check out. And thank you so much, Urmi, for spending this time with me.
Thank you.